Hi guys, welcome back to another video on Zoom Door Tuning. This is another track guide this time. This time we're around Lime Rock, and something a little bit different for you today as well. We've got two different versions of Lime Rock in two different cars, and what I'm going to try and do is show you some of the nuances, some of the differences between driving round in a slower front-wheel drive car. We'll be using the Civic Type R, and the different lines and different ways to drive around this actually really short circuit, 1.5 miles, in a higher power car, our trusty Lotus GT1. Just a quick note on Lime Rock. I was having a look at the track, the corner names earlier. Really good corner names. Big Bend, left-hander, right-hander, the Zigzag. So whoever got the job of naming the corners really nailed it on this one. Anyway, like I said, two different cars, two different layouts, and hopefully I'll be able to compare and contrast them well enough and see how it goes. As I said, the first one up is going to be the Civic C450. Not much power. We all know this car's hot hatch icon. Just take you through the lap. First of all, missing that curb on the inside, right to the outside of the track on the left-hand side. On the curb again, aiming for those cones, using all of the track. You've got to make a decision how you take this corner as well. Whether you go in fast, come out slow, or do the opposite, or somewhere in the middle. Again, looking for that cone on the inside and the outside. You'll see throughout this, it's sort of like join the dots, but with cones. Look on the left again in that braking zone. There's another handy cone to tell you where to turn in as well, which is really nice of them to put that sort of information on the track. Different layouts, not the normal Lime Rock here. This one gets just raced quite a lot, but I thought I'd do this one because this chicane is an absolute nightmare now since they've changed the track limits, and we'll break it down a bit later, but really difficult section to go through in a front-wheel drive car, especially. There's another cone on the outside there, especially with the torque steer that you're inevitably going to get. Not so much in these lower powered ones, but quite a lot. What are the common mistakes then on this track? Well, only two really. Braking a bit too late for this. What is it? Absolutely ghastly chicane. Getting penalty either on the inside or the outside. And then demonstrate quite nicely, even just on the same lap. My first lap, in fact, just cutting the chicane. You've just got to be so patient around the outside. You're just going to run wide, and you just need to be so patient through there. So it's difficult to achieve, but good to master that sort of thing. So let's break down the lap in a little bit more detail. We talked about the cones earlier. This is our trusty cone to start with here. In whatever car you're in, basically aim for the cone, and you're going to be somewhere safe in the braking zone there. I'm going to pause it again here. You've got to make a decision when you're going around this corner to whether you're going to go on the curb or not on the inside there, and actually I make the decision not to, but you can get away with it. There's another little trusty cone there that we can see, but really you need to make a choice. And like I said, I decided not to go on the curb, but run it all the way out to the left hand side. Look how close I am to the grass. Look how close I am to running wide there. That sets you up really nicely to cut back and actually get all the way on the curb, because in these front-wheel drive cars you know that it's going to grip. In the slow cars you know it's going to grip, and it's not going to oversteer going on that curb. If you catch the curb well enough and nicely, it'll actually pull you round the corner rather than push you wide. So that's the aim here, and again out towards the curb. Take another look at that in sort of full speed, because it's quite a technical section and difficult to sort of illustrate exactly what to do. You see me blipping the throttle to keep the nose tucked in. At this point, you've got to make a decision whether you are going to attack this corner on the inside, or you're going to go out wide to start with and then cut back in. I would say that somewhere in the middle in these front-wheel drive slower cars is a good median. You're going to be carrying some good speed, and you've got to sort of judge it so you have enough speed that you're obviously not losing time, but then you get the turning point for this right hand nicely, aiming for that curb on the inside and the outside again. So let's go from the top, the middle of the road, aiming to get on almost the back end of that curb there, like we've discussed before, keeping momentum, and again getting on the curb to sort of help you round here. See, I'm on full power here, I'm keeping momentum up, and I'm hoping and knowing through the practice with the car that it's going to stick and I'm going to be able to hold this. But that's the sort of angle that you need to get on the inside of that corner. And away onto what is known as the no-name straight. Difficult one to get right here. Braking on the curb, you see there's another cone there to let you know where to turn in. I actually turned in a little bit too late on this particular lap, but there's some opportunity to get away with things on the inside here, but not too much now. The track limits have changed. Make sure you stay as straight as possible coming up this hill. Don't ramp up that curb, it's just unnecessary. And into what is such a difficult chicane now, you just have to be patient and take a wider line in than you think. It kind of looks simple enough doing that, but really you just got to be patient on your entry and just use the lift off oversteer in some of these front wheel drive cars to sort you out, to be honest with you. So that was a lap 104.557, which quite a nice lap at the end. Celebrated with a bit of a crash for once, which is good fun. So the comparison, I'm going to break it down in a similar way, but we're in our Lotus GT1, our trusted companion R900. You can see that cone again. We're braking slightly before, but obviously we're doing 171 miles an hour compared with 120 odd in the Civic, so a little bit different. Conscious decision this time not to go over the curb. It's imperative that you stay away from the curbs in this car, especially if you're driving with traction on as well. It's just going to bog the car, but even with traction off, you're going to struggle to put the power down. It's just better to avoid them, and that means you take a different line through this second half of the first bend as well. Look, I'm not on the curb at all. That cone's miles away from us, but we want to try and cut in at a sharper angle to get a straighter run out of this corner to set ourselves up for this left hand, because you don't have enough time really in these cars. This one I do wrap across the curb because you don't really need to worry about the exit on this one. It's all about maintaining momentum into the right-hander, which, as you'll see, is a completely different corner to when we were driving in the Civic. You remember in the Civic we were ramping all over the curb on the outside. This one very much stay off the curb again. Again, getting that late attack angle to maximise the exit from the corner. I can't stress it enough. It's so important in these cars to get a straight exit because the game favours that rear grip. So what I'm going to try and do is sort of break it down slightly differently. So I'm going to put them side by side so you can see in a bit more detail. Totally different sort of attack angle into the first corner, both running out wide, but where the Civic can cut back in on the curb, the Lotus you just can't cope with it really. Obviously I've slowed the Lotus down here, so it's comparable to see, but you can see how much more curb the Civic can take, and actually it makes the track shorter because it's got a shallower line, and actually in this Lotus I was doing the line block full originally, and I can do a quick video on the last two corners if you want, but let's just have another look at that because difficult to see the first time round. First corner line is quite similar, but the Civic's able to just cut back on a sharper line because it can go on that curb. You can take a smoother line almost, whereas the Lotus is a bit more sort of choppy, a bit more stop-start, and that's a trait of the lowest class cars. You need to keep momentum, especially in front-wheel drive where you can't earn back that time. I hope that sort of made things a little bit clear as we can watch the rest of this lap in the Lotus. It's not the cleanest. This bump's a bit of a nightmare as well, so make sure you stay off the grass on the left-hand side. Always turn in later than you think for this one, staying off the curb unless you're in a slower car where it can actually pull you round. This one, quick dab of the brakes, let off, floor it as soon as you see the outside, and look, there's a cone on the outside just to finish us off. Gain a bit of momentum on that curb and across the line in a 45.901 or so. So, bit different today, bit of a comparison between front-wheel drive, slower front-wheel drive cars and our trusty R900 Lotus. So I hope that gave you you know, a bit of a feeling about the different ways to drive cars around even just such a short track like Lime Rock, and you know, obviously those nuances are exaggerated on larger tracks as well. You really have to adapt to the way you're driving to the car that you're driving. So yeah, very different one today. I'd really love to hear some of your questions about the different cars, and obviously if you like this sort of thing, then subscribe to the channel. You know, give it a thumbs up, make sure you hit that bell icon so you get a notification when I post another track or tuning guide, guys. Until next time, I hope you found that helpful, but yeah, until next time, I'll see you later, guys.